Alright, what is up everybody? Welcome. I am back with another episode of tutorials. We are making our own Unreal Engine 5 multiplayer game. So let's just get into it. Before we start, I just quickly want to say I will upload the project files to patrons for as long as I use free assets. I will try to do that for as long as possible. Link will be in the description, but let's get started. So, in the last episode, we made started making our combo system and our combat system. So we will keep working with that. We want to work with character data a little bit more now because, as it stands, this is hard coded. You see, you have a direct reference to the attacks, and it's hard coded, so that will always be the attacks. So we kind of want to make this more dynamic, so different characters can make different attacks and stuff like that. So, before also, I made a new folder here called miscellaneous misc. I put the inputs in here, so I just dragged the inputs in misc, and I made a new folder called data. So here we will use our, or maybe I will do data tables. So that's where we want to store our data tables. But before we do a data table, we want to go into our project. And let's make our first struct. So go to blueprint, structure, call this BPS. Blueprint structure, character details, and this will store all of our data for different characters. That's gonna make it easier for us to change variables in the long run and stuff if we want to like way in the future. If we have 50 characters and we want to work with balancing and stuff, it's gonna be annoying if we have all of the data stored in each different blueprint. It's easier if we just have a data table with all of the information and just change it in there. So we will do open this one up. I do quickly want to say that I don't really like blueprint structures. I tend to make them in C++, so I will probably make it in C++ myself. It won't be needed to follow the tutorials, but if you feel comfortable in doing it in C++, you should probably do it in C++. There has been cases where blueprint structures get corrupted and data gets reset and lost. Usually it's because you have structs inside of structs and you change a struct that is already, like if you add more variables to a struct that is very integrated into your game, it's in several blueprints and stuff, and you change something with it, it can break. So C++ ones are better, but it's probably fine. I'm gonna change mine to C++ though later, just so you know. But yeah, in here we'll do character name. That's gonna be a name. Actually, data table identifier. It's the first one. That's gonna be a name. Then we're gonna add a text string text. Character name. Gonna add another one called character description. Yeah, so this will just hold random stuff for our characters, basically. The data for our characters. We will keep adding stuff to this as we go on with the game, but what we're after now is animation montage, any montage, and we're gonna make an array, and this will be light attacks. And as I said, I will keep stuff basic, so I won't do an inventory system where each character can have different weapons with different attacks and stuff. It's still easy to expand on it later, so we could still add different attacks and stuff, but for now one character will be likely. How it will end up is we have one character. This is sword character. Sword character will always have these light attacks. Knife character will always have these light attacks, and so on. So yeah, we will see. But for now, that's how it's gonna be, at least. So light attacks, anime montage, array. Perfect. So there we have some data. So now I will go into my data tables folder, create a new miscellaneous data table. And this pick row structure, we will pick BPS character details. If you made a C++ struct, you need to add the F data table row base thingy to the struct, otherwise it won't appear here. BPS character details. Okay. DT for data table, character details. I'm gonna open it up. And now you'll see if I press add here, you can see it gets filled with what we put inside our struct. Cool. So this will be default character. Oh, let's call it prototype. Prototype player. And I want the row name here to be the same as my data table identifier. Character name will be player. You could use the same as well. I just like to do it like this, with a specific row for data table identifier, but you could just find the character name or whichever row you want to later. This is the default test character. Default. That's just for testing. That's it for now. And here you see we can add stuff to this array. And we had 2 attacks in our combo, right? So we want to grab here. We want to grab this one. Nope, not like that. We want to just copy the name. It's this one. And that's this one. So you see, when we have 50 characters and we want to change one attack, it's easier to just have the data stored in one place. So you will have 50 rows with 50 characters, and you will have the same data in all of the rows. So you can just find the right row and change it here, and it's going to be way easier to have everything gathered in the same place. So that's why we're doing this. Now we need a way to access that data here. So we go into our master character, because that character details is gonna be shared by all the characters. So character details, and it's gonna be of the type character details. It's likely gonna be replicated, so we might as well set this to replicated from the get-go. So now we have 2 options. This is like how you could do it, because now we have a variable inside of our master one. So if I go into the player, you can see that it's gonna have the details in the description here somewhere. So you see, I now have the character details here. So I could just make different blueprints and change all the data here and just use that data. That's one way to do it. So we're gonna access that. But this is also actually, see, I put this light attack function inside of the player. We don't want to do that. We want to delete. We want to copy it, put it in the master character. There we go. We want to have it in the master character here. We want to have the combo counter here as well. So just right click and promote it to a variable, because we don't actually want this light attack function here. Go. And now you can see it's changed this function to the one in the master character instead. Because NPCs will be able to do light attacks as well. We can delete this variable. And you can clearly see yeah, we actually need to do like this. In our master player, I'm gonna do no, not the master player, sorry. Shared functions, we're gonna do custom event. We'll do a client RPC for light attack. I'm just thinking. I might change this later because maybe the combo stuff isn't really needed for AI, but we'll do that now anyway. So client light attack. I'm just thinking here. I might add some stuff for AI character. Yeah, let's just do it for the like this for now. Because maybe the light attacks is actually only for the player, and the AI will do its own separate, because the AI will likely have different logic for attacking. Because the AI will probably have like more telegraphed attacks and stuff like that. So actually, sorry, let's move it back. Let's not have it here. That's why you plan ahead. Which is probably what I'm worst at. And we remove this. We take this combo counter back as well. We have it here again. And set it to 0 there. Need to compile. Refresh. Oh. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're back. Let me just see so that it still works. Perfect. Sorry about that. Let's actually have it here, but the character details should be here. So what we're gonna do for these attacks. is we're gonna do. We're gonna get the character details. We're gonna break it. And instead of using this select node, we're gonna use get. I'm gonna plug it in here. Now we're gonna get the specific index from this array instead. And that means we can just add as many attacks to the combo here that we want to. But we also need to do like this. We need to get the length of this one. Let's see, the length will be 2, so length subtracted by 1. There we go. So now we use this light attack array instead to determine how many attacks we should do. Yeah, that's not gonna work right now because we haven't filled this one out. So as I said, I could just fill this out here. In the details. You can see it's still working. But that means we have to go into each specific blueprint to change it if we want to change something in the future. So instead we're gonna load from this. And I'm just gonna have one variable. One variable instead to determine where to get the data from. So I will go into. Let me just pause and think for 1 second about the struct, just to make sure I don't do the same mistake again. All right, what's up? I'm back. Let's change some stuff. I will rename this to player details. And this will be the player details. Because the AI will have different stuff and I want everything gathered in the same place for each data table. So we will have 2 data tables, one for player details and one for NPC details. And that's easier because the NPC details won't be the same as the character details. They will share some stuff like the name and description and stuff maybe. But NPCs will likely have a lot more data, maybe, I don't know, sight range, detection range for the player, and stuff like that the players doesn't need because the player will actually use their own eyes. And the AI needs different data to actually pretend to be a player than what an actual player needs. So we'll do player details for this one. And the data table will be called DT player details. And that also means that we're gonna move this character details variable in here and call it player details, and we will remove it from here. And we will grab the player details instead. Like so. There we go. And that means we can now use this data table, prototype player, So in here, we'll go into our master character and make another variable called data table identifier. And that's going to be the only variable for data that we change instead. So by default, we will set this to prototype player. And I am actually gonna I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna do advanced display. I'm gonna press that. That means it should disappear here, right? Yeah, so now we no longer find the struct in the details. Or, yeah, it's here instead. Should be a way to hide it completely. I don't think there is. Doesn't matter. So for now, we're gonna go to we're gonna use begin play now, but we're gonna change that later. But for now, we're gonna use begin play, and we're gonna call a function, and we're gonna do get data table identifier, get data table row. So this gets the data table that we want. So I'm gonna do the player details here, and we're gonna find a specific row based on this variable, and the row is this one. So we're gonna use the identifier here to find a specific row, and I set this to prototype player. So that means I can now, on begin play, set the details for this character. So now, whenever I change something in this data table, it's gonna be loaded in here, and it's gonna set the details here. And we're then gonna use those details for the light attack here. So you can see it's still working. So yeah, that's our initial data setup. We will keep adding stuff to this data table. And we'll probably do a lot more data tables. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. As I said before, link to Patron in the description if you want to download the project files, and I will see you in the next one. See you.